Go for the head. It's good advice for a sword-swinging hero. Talk to Perseus, who slayed Medusa. It feels final. But our next story poses the question, what if the severed head could bite back? By the way, this segment contains graphic imagery. Viewer discretion is advised.
2019. On a fishing boat in the North Atlantic, fishermen catch something in their nets. But rather than releasing their find, the seamen document something truly astounding. A large fish head, reminiscent of the creature from the Black Lagoon, has been separated from its body. It looks slimy to the touch, with huge unblinking eyes and a gaping maw. A gloved hand holds the head at the base while another holds a can of soda. It's placed into the mouth of the beast with shocking results. Despite being fully decapitated, the creature bites into the can with a fury, seemingly effortlessly crushing it in its jaws. Field researcher Ken Gerhardt wonders if this could be some sort of naturally zombified sea creature.
So in the animal kingdom, there is a process that's been documented known as cryptobiosis, whereby certain types of marine life have actually been reanimated or brought back to life. Sea monkeys, of course, were tiny brine shrimp that had essentially been dried out, desiccated, that were, for all intents and purposes, dead. But people could reanimate them by introducing seawater.
Gerhardt is also reminded of a phenomenon among humans called Lucid Decapitation, wherein the severed head of a person continues to exhibit lifelike qualities.
There have been many examples, particularly during the French Revolution. They had the famous device known as the guillotine, which was efficiently designed to chop off people's heads. And there are many stories of disembodied heads that seem to be animated and alive, sometimes minutes after the decapitation.
In one famous example in 1905, a French surgeon convinced an inmate sentenced to death to blink as much as he could after the beheading.
Once this decapitation occurred, he actually called out the inmate's name, and he claims that this beheaded head actually looked at him as if it recognized its name. So when we consider these cases of lucid decapitation, we certainly could ask, is that what we're seeing here, an example of this particular phenomenon?
Fortunately, we don't decapitate people these days, so there's not much recent data to study regarding headless humans. But there seems to be ample evidence of some kind of life after death, at least physical activity, if not consciousness. This biting fish head is a fascinating specimen. Let's see what our experts make of it.
Wildlife biologist Stephanie Shutler addresses our zombie concerns.
There's no cases in nature of back from the dead zombification, but there are things in nature that happen that resembles zombie behavior.
In fact, it's more common than you'd think. Tropically transmitted parasites like Euaplorchus californiensis hijack their hosts' nervous systems, turning these fish into zombies so the parasites can hop from one host to another.
It changes their brain chemistry to make them want to go to the surface of the water where it's dangerous and flash around so that they get noticed by predators, specifically birds, and get eaten up.
But Shutler doubts that's what's happening.
I don't think what we're seeing here is due to parasites because the parasite is not benefiting at all. The fish being dead doesn't help the parasite at all.
So could this instead be an example of lucid decapitation? Marine biologist Shay Conner weighs in.
When an animal dies like this, there's a number of things still going on that don't immediately stop. And one of those is blood flow. So blood carries oxygen to different tissues of the body for some period of time. The brain is really reliant upon oxygen to function.
Because this is a sea creature, we can assume it's cold-blooded, which means it requires less oxygen than mammals. So a bodiless fish can continue to use up that remaining oxygen for a longer period of time.
In the case of animals that are recently deceased, there is something called a cadaveric spasm, which is when you still have some electrical potential in your nerve cells, meaning that there's still some kind of ionic charge between the nerves that can fire back and forth. What I see here is a typical face of a mature wolf eel. They have very strong jaws, and what's happening is that nerves are just being triggered. This doesn't mean that the animal's alive.
This phenomenon has been caught on camera numerous times. So while we're looking at a fish, it's not a fluke. Our verdict? This is a decapitated wolf eel displaying some kind of muscle spasm. A natural occurrence, if you can believe it, albeit a disturbing one.
On History.